Welcome to another edition of Celtics Roundtable on CLNS Media, everybody. CLNS Media, the leading online provider of audio-video coverage of the Boston Celtics. Welcome inside another edition, everybody. Evan Valenti, solo for today. Matt Ignall is producing this thing, but I'm joined by a very special guest here on this Sunday, going to air Monday. It's Adam Kaufman of 98.5, the Sports Hub, and WBZ News. Morning Drive sports anchor for WBZ. Does Celtics at 7 on Saturdays on 98.5, the Sports Hub. Glad to have him here as we kind of preview the week a little bit, and we talk a little bit about what happened over the weekend with the Boston Celtics. And news breaking Sunday, Adam, the Celtics come to a one-year, $4+ million agreement with Aron Baynes, formerly of the Detroit Pistons. So now the Celtics have brought in Gordon Hayward. They've brought in Jayson Tatum. And now Aron Baynes. They've lost Kelly Olynyk. They've lost Avery Bradley and some other pieces from last year's squad. As of today, this taping is the 9th of July. Are the Celtics a better team than they were at the end of the Eastern Conference Finals?
I think they are, although I don't think they're dramatically better. They've definitely taken steps forward. They're not all of a sudden, click your heels together better than the Warriors. They're not even better than the Cavaliers. I think if we were still looking at a repeat of the East Finals again this year from what we had last year, Celtics would still lose in all likelihood, barring, an injury, a significant one on the other side, but it would be closer. Now, maybe that means Celtics losing 6 as opposed to 5. But, what I think they've done is, it's all part of the build, and this, it's about competing for now as well as competing a few years from now. And if you can bring in a significant free agent like Gordon Hayward and a good piece in Marcus Morris, who's going to be around a couple of years, a guy on a cheap one-year deal, and Aron Baynes to try and address some of your rebounding needs, but you have a core off the bench, in all likelihood anyway, of Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, Demetrius Jackson, Ante Zizic, Gershon Yabusele. I mean, we're talking about guys that theoretically, if all pans out, these guys could all be starters in a handful of years for a team that contends. If, again, that's dreaming big. But that's sort of the master plan of what Danny Ainge is doing right now.
Yeah, and you look at Cleveland, that's the first hurdle Boston has to get over, and that's the obvious competition here. Is Boston better than Cleveland today? And look, I think they can compete. Whether they can win or not is another thing. And that's going to be, kind of incumbent on some guys internally making improvements. That's not just a guy, like Jaylen Brown, who's a youngster, or a Jayson Tatum, who's a young guy, Marcus Smart is a young guy. I'm looking at how does Brad affect Gordon Hayward? Because the way that Brad has had an effect on certain people that have come through the Celtics organization, go to Jordan Crawford, you go look at Evan Turner, you can even look at Isaiah Thomas a little bit, and anybody in between. The fact is, Brad Stevens has made guys better that have come in. And Gordon Hayward already does a lot of things for you. I think a lot of the Celtics' success in 2017, 2018 is predicated not only on some internal guys, making some big improvements, but can they get Gordon Hayward to make that next jump? Because Gordon Hayward's a great player. Don't get me wrong. He's a fantastic player, 20-point game scorer, an all-star player. He's going to come in and fit what the Celtics want to do offensively almost to a T. But there's got to be some jump somewhere, whether it's a distributor, whether it's defender, I don't know. But I think if Boston wants to really make any impact against Cleveland, guys that are already on the team have to get better. But Gordon Hayward has to come in, and I know there's going to be a lot of pressure there, but he's got to come in and be an all-star type of guy for Boston to even get in the same category as Cleveland. Am I crazy here?
No, I don't think you're crazy, but I do think you're on the right track. I think Gordon Hayward has to come in, is going to come in and fit seamlessly into what Brad Stevens is looking to do. Not enough people are talking about the fact that, Gordon Hayward had a career year last year, and he's upped his scoring average in each of his 7 professional seasons, all-star for the first time last year, and he was great as leader of the Jazz, but he's also coming from a slow, boring, methodical system in Utah that thrived defensively and was absolutely terrible on offense. One of the last worst teams in the NBA, what Quinn Snyder was doing there. He's now coming to what is a fast-paced offense under Brad Stevens, a guy that obviously took him from being a barely recruited tennis player when he was 13 years old to the 9th overall pick within a couple of years at Butler. And Stevens knows how to put him in the best position to succeed. He knows his strengths. He knows his weaknesses. He knows that he can be that on some nights featured guy, on other nights secondary go-to scoring presence next to Isaiah Thomas. He's a shot creator. He's a solid passer. He's great on the pick and roll, stud in transition, spot up shooter. He's a good defender when it comes to matching up with guys on the perimeter, bigger guards. Quite frankly, he might have more success to that end than Avery Bradley did against, again, bigger guys. I don't think all of a sudden he's going to be all defensive caliber. I don't want to overhype him, but I think he's an underrated defender. Whereas we were well aware around here of how good Avery Bradley was defensively. So I really think he's going to fit into a T, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and the one thing that you mentioned before we got into Hayward a little bit is, the guys that are coming off the bench for the Celtics. You had Aron Baynes to a crew of Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier. The Avery Bradley trade is one that obviously shakes a couple people to the core. Avery Bradley's your last connection to the KG Paul Pierce era. I get that. It's the most logical guy to trade in this situation. But I was kind of impressed, to be honest, Adam. The haul they got for Avery Bradley got a pretty serviceable player in Marcus Morris. He's a pretty good defender. Now, in terms of rebounding, does he help him much? We'll see. Wouldn't expect it to start, but we'll see. But the one thing I will say, this is a guy that can switch defensively, can fill it up, can get hot like anybody else on this team. And he's going to bring it every single night because he has that kind of attitude. I thought Boston, for trading away one of their better core players that's been on the team for a while, I thought they hit a home run here. Am I nuts again, or no? Am I thinking okay here?
No, I mean, I'm with you. I can't believe how many people are down on this trade, and I have to believe it's people that are just really impacted by the fact that you've lost Avery Bradley and clearly did not, that you're sending out the better player and not getting the better player back, and people are used to Danny Ainge winning trades right from the jump, and I get that. And emotionally, it sucks losing Avery Bradley, big part of this franchise. And as you said, he was the longest tenured Celtic going back to even before Brad Stevens was here. Now Marcus Smart is that guy, and he's 23 years old. So it's different. The landscape has changed. But you bring in a Marcus Morris, who, as you said, he's capable defensively. He's versatile. He's a guy that I would expect to start at least more often than not. He can get hot from three. He's a 35, 36% career three-point shooter. He's another guy that can give you a whole bunch of production from the wing at 14 points per game last year. And he's on a great contract. He's a good player on a great contract, kind of like Jay Crowder. And Morris has 2 years left on his deal for a total of $10.4 million. Bradley was going to make 8.8 this year if they had found a way to keep him here and dealt somebody else, or the cap situation had played out differently, whatever the case. So I think it's going to be a good deal for Danny Ainge. I think it looks good already, but we'll see obviously how it plays out. But you're right, he's not a rebounder. Maybe you could argue he lost some rebounds playing next to Andre Drummond, but generally speaking, even his years in Phoenix before Detroit, the averages were similar. I mean, he's not a good rebounder. He's not a big. He's a wing player, and so. It just kind of speaks to what I think of this team right now. When he took 5 threes per game last year. Like, this team, don't be shocked. I keep joking about it on Twitter. Don't be shocked if this team averages 43-point attempts per game next year and doesn't get that many rebounds. It's not how you want to play, but they're a small team. They're right
I don't know if it's not how you want to play.
Condition.
Isn't that what the modern NBA is kind of drifting towards? I mean, you have to kind of put Golden State in a different category because they have so much freaking talent that it doesn't almost. I mean, you can't duplicate having 4 of the best 20 players on the planet on your team. But you look at what Houston's trying to do. Boston's clearly trying to do the same thing: speed up the pace, shoot more threes, get more open looks, shoot more free throws. get more looks at the rim. I feel like this might help them in that regard. Now, Morris can shoot the mid-range pretty well, but, I mean, shooting more threes and having a nice 3-point short on the floor for driving kicks isn't a bad thing. I want to tell you guys about HelloFresh. It's the meal kit delivery service that makes cooking more fun so you can focus on the whole experience, not just the final plate. Each week, HelloFresh creates new delicious recipes with step-by-step instructions designed to take around 30 minutes so that anybody, from novices to seasoned home cooks short on time, they can make tasty meals. HelloFresh sources the freshest ingredients, measured to the exact quantities needed so there's no food waste, and they employ 2 full-time registered dietitians on staff who review each recipe to ensure it's nutritionally balanced. They deliver food right to your doorstep in a recyclable, insulated box for free to save the environment. And now they're offering light summer meals and have just introduced breakfast options, the most important meal of the day. Listeners of this show and CLNS Media in general can have a very special offer. Get this, because you like this show, listen to this show. Use the promo code BEAT30 for $30 off your first week of meals. Again, support this show. Use the promo code BEAT30 at HelloFresh.com. Get $30 off your first week of meals. Last thing, real quick. I know you got to get out of here. Early impressions of Summer League. Have you been impressed with Tatum as much as everybody else seems to be?
Very, very. Again, with the caveat, and a significant one, being that it's Summer League and he's not playing against the best competition in the world. I think he's looked great. I think more than anything else, even if you ignore the numbers that he's putting up and coming off that 27-point game against the Lakers, he's calm, he's smooth, he's comfortable, he's confident, he's knows exactly what he's going to do. Like that very first game, his pro debut, if we want to call Summer League pro, where he, hit the game winner against Fulton Sixers with a couple of seconds left. As he got the ball, he, went into isolation mode. It was a throwback to Paul Pierce. He went, right to the block, knew exactly what he was going to do, and, fired it up from, just about the free throw line and buried it and game winner. And he didn't have a doubt in his mind. He's composed. He's NBA ready when it comes to that. He's a polished professional scorer, and I think that's why I expect him to, I think we're going to see some 20-point games out of him every once in a while this year. He's going to get hot at points. Now, he's not going to, average that or probably even average 10 points, but I think that he's going to make an impact. And I like the pick going back to the draft, and I would have preferred Markelle Fultz from a roster building standpoint, because I'm not as sold as Danny Ainge is on sort of building around Isaiah Thomas over the next several years. But that's a whole other conversation. I think Tatum has looked good. I think fans, if they haven't already, are going to fall in love with this kid. And then beyond him, I think, Brown shouldn't even bother be playing in these games, because he's clearly head and shoulders above the competition that's there for the most part. It's kind of looked like he's had some tired legs the last couple of games where the production hasn't been there. Jokic has to continue to, get better in terms of the effort and defensively in transition and getting back. I think Nader could potentially make this roster and be a good complementary depth piece who will probably shuttle back and forth between the new G League now and the pros, obviously. And, beyond that, I think those are kind of the key guys that you're watching right now.
I got into a big debate on Twitter over who would make the roster first, Semi Ojeleye or Nader. And I just go back to Ojeleye because at least he can kind of hold up defensively. You saw it against the Lakers. I mean, he was switching on to Zubac at some points, and holding his own against a 7-footer. I see a lot more versatility there over Nader. I think Nader has maybe the hardest time getting on this roster because it's such a, there's so many wings already on the team. If he's going to come out and score, he's got to score effectively, and that's kind of where Gerald Green comes in. Would you rather have Nader do it or Gerald Green do it? And I go back and forth, and I think that Ojeleye probably has the spot over Nader. But I think that's like the 15th, 16th man of the roster. The one thing about Tatum, very quickly, is when you see it how effective he can be. And when he makes quick decisions, he's almost unguardable in Summer League. When he slows things down and allows the help to already sneak over, but by the time he figures out what he's going to do, it's too tough to get a shot off. So as his brain kind of catches up to the NBA speed, I think the sky's the limit with this kid offensively. I like all the tricks he has in the bag already. That fadeaway is really tough. He gets the ball up high in the air. It's hard to block. And his arc is pure, and he just has great touch. And again, I was sold on Markelle Fultz as well. But I believe Danny must have saw something they didn't like, and they've been following Tatum since he was a junior in high school. He's a winner. He's the Gatorade Player of the Year nationally as a senior in high school. Went to a premier college in Duke, has the Coach K connection. But I see what they see, and I get it. And if you're looking at the NBA landscape, it's easier to have a huge impact in the game as a wing than as a guard.
No, I'm with you. I think I agree with all that. I think I think he's going to fit in well. I think we're already seeing the early signs of it. We're seeing, as you said, why Danny Ainge is so high on him and has been for a while, and would have taken number one if he had held that pick. If you want to buy into what he's always said going back to the draft, and I'm just excited. I'm excited for the regular season to get going, to see what he does against bigger, older guys, and how smooth that transition is. I mean, again, it all looks great in Summer League, and you kind of expected it to. It would have been a little concerning if it didn't. But, going forward, I think he could be a star in this league. He could be a perennial all-star, but it's too early to know whether he is going to be a, truly transcendent, transformative player that we all want him to be, that you would hope a number 3 overall pick is going to be, that we want Jaylen Brown to be. And, my feeling about the draft going in was whether it was Fultz, whether it was Ball, whether it was Tatum, Jackson, anyone, Isaac, it just get it right. That's what Danny Ainge is charged with doing. Get the pick right, and then we'll find out. That's going to be telling as to how far they can go with this build.
Right. That's Adam Kaufman, 98.5 The Sports Hub and WBZ News out in Boston. You can follow him on Twitter at Adam M. Kaufman. If you're not doing so already, I'm not sure what you're doing because he's been all over Twitter and is one of the most popular guys you can follow. Has great stuff. Writes for CBS Sports, Boston.com. He is one of the experts, so make sure you give him a follow, read all of his stuff. He's absolutely fantastic. For those of you that don't know about us, make sure you subscribe to the Boston Celtics news feed on iTunes or on Stitcher. You can download our CLNS radio mobile app on your Android or iPhones. If you're watching us on YouTube, what's up? Subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button below. Get weird in the comment section. It's my favorite part is reading some of your weird comments that you guys post every single episode. Follow us on Twitter at CLNS Roundtable. If you have a chance, give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Give us a solid review, some constructive criticism. We love that stuff. We always want to get better for you guys. We'll actually all through the week with all the Las Vegas Summer League stuff and as news breaks. We'll be there with you. Shout out to Adam Kaufman for joining us today. I'm Evan Valenti. We'll see you guys next time on Celtics Roundtable on CLNS Media.